Hi everybody, welcome back to This Is Us Tuesday. We are going to dive right in and we are going to pick up our story in November of 2008. I had been in prison at that point about 15 months, and through the good time that I was able to accumulate with my cooking class, it was projected that I would get out in February of 2008. And so I was pretty much done with my cooking class at that point. And through all of this that we've been through, I had all of my cases settled, but we had yet another surprise while I was in prison. We got audited from the IRS. And I have no doubt that that was prompted by Washington County because they had been relentless up to that point. And as you'll see, they continue to be relentless. And so I was fighting from the inside with no access to anything, this audit. And so I had always done our taxes and made the money, and Stephanie and my mom were trying to figure out what was going on and where the discrepancy was, coming from. But the IRS said that we owed, I think it was a little bit over $30,000. And so with the limited resources I had, but I did remember what had taken place, I was able to figure out that the IRS had double counted a portion of my income and had not, counted it an offsetting expense, and it lowered the amount that we owed from a little over $30,000 to just under $2,000. And I didn't even think we owed that, but at that point, Stephanie and my mom were like, we're just gonna stop there. This is just leave it alone. We'll figure out how to pay that and be done with it. And so that also had to get dealt with. So, just everything that we had gone through, it was just one more thing, that just got thrown at us. I'm going to read some letters, just picked out some random letters that I wrote to the kids. And again, time frame November 2008, and we'll kind of talk about those. So the first one's to Joey, and it says, "Dear Joey, how's my little video game buddy? There are some cool games that are coming out that I would like to play with you guys. Maybe we can save up and get a PlayStation 3 when I come home. One fighting game is coming out called Mortal Kombat vs. DC Comics. So the Mortal Kombat characters can fight against Batman and Superman and others. Do you remember when we used to ride our bikes to the school and play on the playground? I want to do that again when I get home. You did a great job on your grades. Keep up the good work. Mom and I are going to let you stay home from school for a day or two when I come home. What are you asking Santa Claus for Christmas? Are the pennies getting low in the jar? ? You can take one more out this weekend. I am going to play with you a whole bunch when I get home, and we will have lots of fun. I love you very much and can't wait to pick you up and give you a big hug and then toss you on the couch like I used to. I liked your Batman Dark Knight costume. Love, Daddy."
So we had like a jar that had pennies in it, and the kids kind of counted down the days till he was going to be able to come home. And towards the end, we didn't visit quite as much, probably the last 3 months. And I think the kids skipped a few visits, but they thought that was neat, getting to take a penny out.
So that's what that was talking about. We'll talk about Jay's letter. "Dear Jay, how are you doing, little man? I saw your pictures in your Joker costume. It looked cool. Have you guys seen the new Batman movie yet? If not, I am sure it will come out on DVD soon." DVD, it's not on like streaming or whatever. "I made a chocolate chip cheesecake last week in school. I won't cook anything tomorrow because I go to a different class during the morning for people getting close to going home. I miss all of you guys so much and am getting very excited that this year is almost over and that you guys will be coming to pick me up soon after that. I have more codes on the back of this paper and want you and Em to get something ordered that you want after putting the codes in. I am proud of how you are doing in school, but try and bring that science grade up to at least a B. Do you think a barbecue business that also offers desserts would do even better? than just desserts. Keep smiling and know that I love you very much and will be home soon. Peace out, Tony.
This is
Love,
kind of
Daddy.
funny though, because I can't imagine Jay having less than a B. Looking back, so I'm wondering how that's accurate, because he's always had straight A's, or he hates it if he gets a B. And it also is kind of funny to me because you always talk to Jay about business stuff, and you're asking a 7-year-old about a business.
And then the codes.
Yeah, the codes. That was funny too, because I can remember Coca-Cola had
codes.
like a thing, and they thought it was so neat to enter the codes online to see if they'd win something.
Well, I think you got like free merchandise. You could order
Like a
sh-
t-shirt,
t-shirt
yeah.
or something, or you can get free soda or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was one of the few luxuries I had when I was in prison. I still couldn't let go of my Coca-Cola, so I'd get a couple bottles a week, and I would save the caps. And then when I wrote a letter, I would fill out all the codes and send them home, and he would go online and do that. So, all right, now for Emily. Emily, dear Emily, what are you up to, little big stuff? I got the Halloween pictures and I liked all of your costumes. What did you and Andrea have all over your faces? Was that lipstick smeared all over? Question mark. You guys are goofy. I have my television on CNN and it just showed there are 56 days left in the year. I just want the next 3 months to fly by and then I will be coming home. Don't act too thrilled about it, LOL. I know that you really miss me. I wonder if your boyfriend will still be around when I come home. I can't imagine taking a boy along with us when we go somewhere like Six Flags or something. I guess it is bound to happen sooner or later. It sucks that I have missed this time with all of you, but I hope that I will be able to make it up to all of you. I know you want your soccer coach and school tutor back. I will have to get caught up on stuff when I get home, retake my driver's license test and other stuff. I saw some ads with the newer, smaller color video iPods. Is that what you guys have? Mom said she is going to send in my Mr. Incredible t-shirt and some goofy underwear in for me to wear out. She also said she was going to send my red polo pajamas in for me to wear out. We'll see. I know whatever she sends, I will look young and hip. Love, Daddy. Lucy, you have some splaining to do.
Anything would have been better than what you were wearing in prison, so
Right.
whatever I sent would have been fine. You would have ran out probably naked.
Wow.
At that point. No, I think it's kind of funny because Em, was at the age where, like we said last week, she was like dating and into like hanging out with friends, and so you kind of knew like you were about to come home and get strict on her.
So about 3 months left, had one more Christmas to go through, and that was a difficult time. But it, at the point that we were at, I'd fought all my battles. I had beat the IRS, if you want to call that a win, and I had gotten denied and lost all my battles to get out early, through work release and things like that. And my clemency was denied. So, it was just, at that time, in a sense, it was, a little bit easier because I wasn't, so focused on, trying to tackle the impossible. And I could just kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel and see that we were almost there and just focus on the positive that, within a few months that I was going to be out of there.
Yeah.
And so that was, definitely easier. But then at the same time, it was very nerve-wracking and stressful because, reality for me was about to set in with the outside world. And, as we had talked about before, I'm a convicted felon at that point. I have no job. I had thought that when I was going to get out that I would at least be able to return to my work at American TV and Appliances and start selling furniture. But I knew my income was going to be limited of what I could make. I knew about what I was able to make. And so you saw in the letter to Jay that I had, kind of grander ideas that I wanted to open my own business because, with our cases, restitution, we had still initially over $350,000 in restitution, and we had paid over $100,000 of that back. So I still had about $250,000 to repay to the victims' families. I had about $2,000 that I owed to the IRS. I owed Stephanie's parents between $20,000 to $25,000 through their help in, settling out some of our cases. And that was on top of all of the, furniture and personal belongings and jewelry and everything else that they had taken from us. And I owed my parents and didn't have an exact amount. They weren't the type of people that kept a ledger, but they had bought Stephanie a minivan to get around in, and we're making the payment on that. And they had taken over the payment on our house, and that was, with everything, utilities and taxes, insurance, probably was about $2,000 a month. Was that right? Something like that?
Between the house and the van. Yeah.
Okay, so between the house and the van, about $2,000 a month. And, I knew I was going to come out, and my hope was to get my job back.
Yeah.
And then potentially start a business and just work my tail off to see what I could do and get everything paid off. So as much as I missed my family and wanted to spend time with them, I also knew that I had all of these things, these pressures financially that I was going to have to deal with.
Yeah. And on top of it, we had bad credit because we had filed bankruptcy before we went in.
Yeah. So that was actually the second time and final time, thankfully, that we've had to file bankruptcy. Our first time was when I was young and got out of the military, and we weren't making very much money, and then I had lost my job and we had gotten to too much debt.
Yeah, it was pretty much right after we got married. So back in the 90s, I'd probably say, was it right after we had M?
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny to me because somebody had DM'd me and asked, how many times did you file bankruptcy? Because they thought we had filed like 4 times. I was like, no. I thought it was kind of weird. Like, why do they want to know this? But whatever. But if I would have filed bankruptcy 4 times, we would have had to start filing when we were like 13. Because you can only file like every 8 years.
So getting ready to get out, I had, extreme amount of anticipation and was finally at the end of this, situation and going to be able to get out and spend time with my family and play with the kids and be back with Stephanie. But then I also knew that I had all of this hanging over my head and I had to figure out, what I was going to do. Stephanie, as she said, worked at the doctor's office making about $10 an hour.
Yep.
And working not even full-time, was it? It was like 30...
It was like 38 hours a week.
38
Monday
hours.
through Friday.
And so we knew we weren't going to be able to repay anything off of that.
But
and
immediately we had to pay payments
right.
of $150 a month.
So 3 months out, get through Christmas, and then finally the day has arrived. So we're going to talk about that. Stephanie did send me clothes in to wear out. She didn't send the Mr. Incredible shirt with the goofy underwear, wherever that came from, or the pajamas. Basically just got a pair of jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's like a polo.
Yeah. Oh, a polo. So I had
You had polos back then, the collared
I had
shirts,
a collared polo to wear. So I looked snazzy coming out, ready to take on the world.
Right.
And so it was just really strange being in prison, and you felt different. You kind of had an anticipation, a nervousness, an excitement, and all of that. And people around you knew you were getting ready to get out. So it was kind of like, they were happy for you, but then again, they kind of, pulled away from you a little bit because, you weren't going to be there shortly after that. So, I just remember just sitting, waiting for my name to get called, that I could go over to the I guess the entrance or the exit and get my stuff to get out of there. And as I told you guys before too, throughout this whole process, they asked, was I gang related? Do I have any tattoos? They asked, if I had any kind of, drug addictions and things like that. And, I have never taken any drugs in my life, and I never drank while I was, out and free before all this happened. So I had no, issues with that stuff to deal with. And so I got called over and I got to change my clothes, and, just the excitement was building. And I finally got to see Stephanie and the kids on the other side of the guard station.
Yeah.
And, so it was neat to be able to, you know, walk up to them and give them a hug. And I was like, get me out of here. And I also had some belongings that I carried out. I had a
TV.
I had a television that I was able to buy with money they had put on my books, and it was completely clear where you could see all the wiring and stuff like that. So that looked crazy. And then I had like a hot pot that I was able to cook all of my food in my cell in. What was basically just like a giant pitcher with, you know, the ability to heat up water, and just some papers and random stuff like that. So out the door I went to the burgundy minivan that my mom helped them get.
And I drove home.
The kids called it the Barney van.
Yeah.
So she drove home. I think I sat in the back seat actually.
With the kids.
With the kids, and just was wanting to be with them and joke with them and stuff like that. And I was really hungry for, I know, a cheeseburger and French fries, but just recently talking to Jay about, I was like, what was the very first thing that we ate? And he reminded us that, you know, with all this cooking that I was doing, they wanted to taste some of my cooking. So it was morning time, and we drove straight home, and I made everybody French toast. So that was our first meal together. And then I think I got the cheeseburger and fries later. So I don't remember exactly what day of the week it was, but as I said in the letters, if the kids had school, we kept them out a couple days. And if it wasn't the weekend, I know she took at least a couple days off from work just to kind of be there, or maybe even just that one day. And so then basically life was back to normal, you know. Stephanie had to go back to work, and I went to American TV and Appliances, which was not too far from where we lived at that time, and, you know, set up a time to speak with them and fill out an application and do my interview. And I went and did that. And there have been a couple changes as far as the managers, but the main manager was still there, and they knew my situation before, and you know, they knew I was coming back to get a job. And something happened between, you know, me doing the interview and them somewhat welcoming me back to the company, and then they submitted the paperwork and got in touch with corporate, and they quickly notified me that they would not be rehiring me. So, you know, it's just one more huge defeat. So now I'm out, I'm with my family, I'm happy, I'm excited, but, you know, I have no job. I'm a convicted felon. We have a mountain of debt that we are never going to pay back. At least one of us thought it would never be paid back. I've always been optimistic. I've always been a dreamer. And, you know, when something like that happens, you get kicked and knocked down, you got to get back up and go again.
Yeah, his mom always called me Debbie Downer, but that was just who I was, or how I'm always like that though.
So you were the breadwinner.
I was, me and him, no. No, I was still working at the doctor's office, and that was weird. They'd all make fun of me because come Sunday night, I'd have to get like my clothes ready, and I'm not a morning person, so I always freaked out like I was going to oversleep, not be ready on time. So I would always fuss and say, I have to get to bed, I have to get like ready for the next day, and we couldn't go anywhere past like a certain time. We'd have to be at home. And so that was weird because I had always been used to me staying home, like watching Oprah at 3 o'clock, having a snack, and him being gone working. So it was kind of like the tables were turned. I was the one like waking up early, going, and he was getting the kids ready for school and helping. That helped, but it was different.
So I was kind of adjusting to my new life as Mr. Mom. And you know, it was strange, and you know, I was trying to just figure out what I was going to do, and you know, I didn't have the money to start up a new business. My mom did buy me a KitchenAid mixer and a couple things to bake with when I got out, kind of as a, you know, coming home gift or whatever you want to call it, and didn't really know what I was going to do. And I was trying to apply for jobs or starting to look for work.
In his mind, your mind just spins all the time. Like you're always thinking, and we'd be laying in bed and he'd be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm like, oh, geez.
And so we are, you know, in February of 2009, and I'm out. I'm now defeated again, not getting this job that I thought I had when I came out, and I was trying to make good use of my time. And Stephanie, of course, had some honeydews for me to do around the house that had accumulated while I was gone, and there was a couple rooms that she wanted repainted. And so this is probably within a week of me getting out of prison, and I already found out I'm not going to have a job. Kids are at school, and I'm somewhat looking for work throughout the days, but also trying to do some of these things that she had asked me to do. And it was a day during the week. She was at work, the kids were at school, and I am on a stepladder painting one of these rooms that she wanted painted. And all of a sudden, there's Winnie. Pretty much like that. Knock on the door, and I didn't think, Winnie. So, get down from the stepladder. Seriously.
Except probably it was a golden retriever back then.
Yeah, it was a golden retriever barking. So I get down off the stepladder, and I'm just, I don't think I'd gotten. So I got off the stepladder. I don't think I'd even gotten cleaned up for the day because I knew I was going to be doing painting and stuff like that, and just had some junky clothes on. So if I dropped paint on myself, it wouldn't be a big deal. And I go and I just open the door, and there are 2 police officers standing at the door. And they ask, "Are you Justin?" And I was like, "Yes." And
you wanted to say no?
well, I really didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a week out of prison. I had to do parole, and I was doing what I needed to do as far as I'd gotten in contact with my parole officer that I was assigned to, and didn't think anything of it. So I opened the door, 2 police officers, and so then they proceed to tell me that they are placing me under arrest, and that they have to take me to the local police department, to the jail, and that I had failed to report to Washington County about my release. Well, I had no idea what they're talking about, but come to find out, 18 months prior, when I was sentenced, with everything that was crazy going on and my life was pretty much being turned upside down, at some point in the proceeding, and it may even have been on a piece of paper that they handed me at that time, somewhere it stipulated, or they had said, that upon release from prison that I had to report to Washington County to notify them that I was being let out of prison, and I failed to do so. So they issued a warrant for my arrest because they knew I was out, and picked me up at my house, and I asked them, is there any way that I can go upstairs, you can follow me up there, and grab a little bit of money so I can bail myself out? At that point, we didn't have much, but everything that we had, we didn't leave in the bank because we had our bank accounts frozen. We had this knock on the door before. And so we had a little bit of money set aside, and I asked if I could go get that to bail myself out because kids are at school, she's at work, and they said, "No, sorry, you can't do that." So again, for the second time, put your hands behind your back, put the handcuffs on, put me in the back of the police car, and drove me literally right down the street to the police station, and I was back in a cell, and I thought, this really cannot be happening.
They did let you call me, so that was good. So I was able to leave work and run home, but my heart was like racing. I was like freaking out, because you just don't know what's going to happen, if I'm going to be able to get him out that easy or not, But so I had to run home, get the money, run up to the police station, and it just was a big rigmarole, and ended up he got to come home, but it was just, I don't know, one more thing that we had to go through that was just like...
And literally nothing
crazy.
else came from it.
Yeah.
The other 2 counties that I had, pled, out and been charged in, there was no issue with them. This was just Washington County's last way and last chance to literally spit on me when I was down and bleeding. And, I didn't have to go to court or anything. It was basically just said, hey, you were supposed to tell me you're out of prison and you didn't, so I'm going to throw you back in jail.
Yeah.
And then we had to pay another
It was $1,000.
fine, basically, or whatever you want to call it, bail, to get out. And I spent a couple hours in the jail cell. My dad had to run to the house to, get the kids
Yeah.
after school or whatever, and she had to leave work. But it's just looking back on it, just shows me, and hopefully this is coming through to you guys, that this county, I didn't know what they wanted from me. Like, they had basically taken my life away. I owed a bunch of money. I had a felony on my record, and I was out, not doing anything wrong, trying to be doing positive things, taking care of my kids, fixing up the house, looking for a job, and they bring me back to jail.
Right, like, don't they have other people they need to go after? That's like a threat, whatever.
So from that point forward, and we'll talk about this in the next episode, and this is where we're going to leave off, we're going to talk about, what did we do next? How did we piece our lives back together? What did we do for money? We're on state aid at that point. We're living off of 38 hours a week, $10 an hour for a family of 5. And, so join us next week, and we'll pick this story up where we left off. And if you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks. Pose for a couple things. You want to do this? And this. Like, are you kidding me?
What are you
Like,
doing?
are you kidding me?
I want to eat now.
You're sending me back to jail again?
Okay, let's eat. I'm starving.
She said, let's eat.
It's 2 o'clock. You didn't feed me lunch yet.
When life goes lemons, just call on me. Just call on me.